Hi everyone, this is my first video on getting started with R, and on this video I'm going to try and finish these objectives that you can see here. First, I'll get started with some common vocabulary that are used in R, such as vector, matrix, data frames. Then I'll talk about what the packages means in R and why everybody is talking about the tidyverse. And then I'll finish up with a coding exercise. Now let's start. So I hope you already have R installed in your device and you also have the R Studio. Just to make things clear, R is the programming language that we're working on, and R Studio is in IDE, or it is in working environment where we'll be typing our code, running our code, and also visualize some of our plots. So I'm just going to open my R Studio now. Here it is. First, I'm just going to clean everything. So yeah, do it, clean, and okay. So this is where we start, and it's for my agenda. First, getting started by talking about some common vocabs, right? So let's talk about vector first. What is vector in R? A vector is just like a row or a column of data. For example, let's say fruits. And what do you have in the fruit? Let's say you have apple, you have orange. Sorry about that. And grapes. And what other fruits do you have? Okay, okay, you have blueberry, right? So these are the different fruits you have, and this is the vector, but this is not in the format that is recognized by the R, so we need to type it in a format that is recognized by R, and it goes like this: fruit equals, so we need to combine all those entries of the fruits, right? So we type C to combine, then we start with a parenthesis, and then we start typing apple, and all of these things should be inside the double quotes. Orange, and then grapes, and then blueberry, right? So if I press run, which is over here, instead of pressing or clicking run, I can also do control enter, which will execute the code. So I'm just going to run it. Okay, now I just run my first code, and now I want to talk about the interface of the R. So this interface is where you write your R code, and this at the bottom is where your R code get compiled. This is where all your variables that you load or any functions that you load in your area, writing area, will get over here. And this is where you can see your plots. You can download any packages, you can search for any help, and there are other few options too. But now let's just go on the plot. So fruits, my fruits is over here, and it is in the form of vector. And if you want to see what the fruits look like, you can just go in the terminal section here and just type fruit and just click run, or using control enter. See, you have apple, orange, grapes, and blueberry inside your fruits. So that's about the vector. And then let's talk about matrix. It is super easy to make a matrix in R. So let's try the same fruit, but now let's make a matrix which has 2 rows and 2 columns. And I would like to give you one more tips on using R, which is super helpful. That is, if you don't know how certain things work, you can just go what and then type matrix. And if you run that, you can see on the right in the help section, you now have the matrices, right? And it's gonna give you how to use that. This is the syntax on how you can use the matrix, and it has got all the details of arguments, and in the end it also has the example of how to use that matrix. You can see over here the matrix. This is how we can use the matrix. So yeah, let's try making matrix. Let's give the name my matrix, and then we know the elements that are going to be in my matrix, that are the fruits, right? And on the help section, you can see first you type matrix, and then you give the element of the matrix. Then you say the number of rows, then you say number of columns, and then you say whether these are going to be arranged by row or by column. And if you also want to give the dimension names, that is the column names, you can write the dim names. For now, I'm just going to make it simple, and I'm just going to type matrix, and then I'm going to type all the elements that I want in the matrix, which is going to be the same as this fruit vector. So I'm just gonna copy and paste it over here, and then after that I need to write the number of rows and the number of columns, right? Number of row equals how many rows do I want? I want 2 rows. And number of column, how many columns do I want? I also want 2 columns. So with this I can click run, but instead I'll just press Ctrl Enter, which will also run the code. So now you can see in the environment section, the matrix, my matrix, is also added over here. If I click on my matrix, you can see the matrix is added. The column name is v1 and v2, and if you want to specify a column name for the matrix, then you also need to give the name of the dimensions, but that is not what I'm gonna try now. So that is how you can make a matrix in R. And now the most important one is the data frame. So data frame is the most useful and most important thing that you'll be learning today. And data frame, they are not complicated, they are super simple, and they look more of like the matrix. So first, there are several ways to make a data frame. First, I'll write a code which will convert my matrix into the data frame. So like I said earlier, if you want to know more about the data frame, you just type data frame, then run it, and in the help section you can see how you can use the data frame, the different arguments, and in the end there are certain few examples which you can see to understand how the data frame works. Okay, now let's make a data frame. I'm gonna call it my data frame, and I'm going to have 2 elements in my data frame. The first column will be the name, which is name of the fruits, and the second column is going to be the price of the fruits, right? So data frame, then to make data frame I type data.frame, and then is in this syntax we can see first we need to write the elements. That is, I can either put the matrix directly or I can write the name. So I'm just going to write the name. I want the fruits, right? So name. And what is going to be inside the name? There is going to be apple, and there is going to be banana. I'm just doing with 2 fruits. And what else do I want in my data frame? I want name, and I said I also want the price. So I just type price, which goes. So the price for the apple is going to be 100, and the price for banana is going to be 200. So these are the 2 elements of my data frame. Then I just press run, and it says there is an error. What is the error over here? Let me see that. So you see there is an error, and it says the object is not interpretable. That is, our R is not understanding. So there must be an error. Why is the error? Looks good to me. Oh, here it is. The C is capital, and you need to understand that R is case sensitive. So the C here needs to be small letter. Now if I try to run this, it works, my data frame. And do I have that in my environment. Yeah, here is my data frame. So you see, now I have the data frame, I have the column name which has apple and banana, and then I have the column price which has 100 and 200. So yeah, that's how data frame works, and this is just one way to make a data frame. There are tons of ways to make a data frame. You can just make a data frame from the matrix. For example, I have, let's call it my DM. I'm just trying to convert my matrix into the data frame. So I do this, then I type data dot frame, and then I just give my matrix. Yeah, let's run it. Now I have my DF is data frame. See, this is in the form of data frame now. So after that, there is one more important thing about the data frame, that is the indexing. First, let's look at my data frame. This is my data frame. It has 2 rows and 2 columns. And in the indexing, we start by saying this is the first row, which is 1. This is the second row, which is 2. And this is the first column, which is 1. This is the second column, which is 2. So in indexing, the index of the element apple would be 1 1. That is first row, first column 1 1. And the indexing of 100 is going to be the first row 1 and the second column 2 1 2. So we're going to index the first row and first column element apple in the data frame. For that, I just type my data frame and then give a square bracket for the index, and I want first row, first column, and I run. See, here you can see the apple. It gave me the apple because that is my first row and first column. What if I type 2, which means the first row and the second column? See, now it gave me 100, which is the price of the apple. That is how you do indexing in R. And there are several uses of indexing. One is, what if you want to change the price of the apple? The price of apple now is 100. You want to change it to 300. That is just simple. You say my data frame 1 2, and now you want to change it to 300, right? My data frame 1 2, indexing of 1 2, which is the price of apple, and you are now assigning it to a new value 300, and just press run. So you want to see whether your data frame is changed or not. Just go back here in the environment and click on the my data frame. See, now the price of the apple is changed. That is how you can use the indexing to change the price of any rows or column in your data frame. So that's it for the first video on getting started with R. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.